What is Scrum? My name is Isaac, previous CTO of a funded startup, and I run the checkout team at Pretty Little Thing. Today I'm going to be talking about Scrum, which is an agile methodology, essentially a building framework used for software, which specializes in being flexible and removes a lot of the rigidity from previous frameworks. This video may also potentially be useful for people looking to get into tech jobs without actually coding or doing a tech role. There will be a video somewhere here for roles that use it, so potentially a BA or a Scrum Master. If that's of interest to you, check out the video. Scrum, it's kind of the software standard. I've never really worked somewhere that doesn't use it. It's not just for software. I think design teams use it as well, but it's like an IT specific, well, generally IT. Scrum works on a point system, so each task that you get is allocated an amount of points, and this point indicates the complexity of the task or how long it's going to take to complete. It uses the Fibonacci sequence, so the points would be like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. And essentially it's done like that so you can't like nitpick over the smaller things. So instead of thinking, oh, this is a 7 point, it's either 8 or 13, and then, you know, if it gets bigger, it's like, right, we need to split it down. So it kind of forces you into a mold, which makes it easy to estimate. This is then run in a closed loop sort of time iteration called a sprint. So they're traditionally 2 weeks. So all the tasks that you have, you allocate them a point, which is supposed to indicate how long they'll take to do. And then you put these tasks into a sprint, which means the sprint has an overall amount of points. And then the quality of a sprint can be dictated by how many points did we complete, which, you know, kind of represents the task out of the amount of points that we had. And then next week you have a new sprint with a new amount of tasks and therefore points, and it goes like that. To align the team, you have Scrum ceremonies. So every morning you have this thing called a stand-up, which is supposed to be super quick. Everyone comes in, says what they're doing to just align everyone across the board. You know who's working on what, any problems that they face, you get back to work. And then at the end of the sprint, you have a retrospective, which you go over everything that went well or poorly in the sprint, and then you make notes for next time. So in the next iterative loop, you can do better. So for example, did you overestimate how many points you could take in the sprint? Okay, is that because you didn't point things correctly, or is it because you just thought you were better than you were, and then next time we need to take less points into the sprint? It's stuff like that. So as the name suggests, it is an agile methodology and focuses very much on the iterative process of becoming better. So that was introduced. What did it replace? Previously, there was Waterfall methodologies, which is kind of like a project management approach, which emphasizes a linear progression through tasks. It's often used by engineers, and it's kind of front-loaded based on the planning. So the way that it becomes predictable and understandable is because you spend so long planning and organizing that when it comes to implementation, it's kind of just execution of, it's not really too creative. So you basically go through stages essentially of like planning, development, deployment. Traditionally it's split to requirements, which is, you know, figuring out what exactly it is you need, what does the system need to do, design of the system, implementation, which is just taking the design that you had and actually building it, and then testing and deployment, which I feel are obvious. So this is kind of like similar to construction. You plan a building and then you build it, kind of simple. This was the predominant methodology used before Agile. I wasn't working in industry at the time, so I don't have first-hand experience on the switch and transition between, but from research, it said it was like mid 2010, so 2012, 2015 is when it started. I must have been like in college or uni then, so. Why were agile methods introduced? So they are fundamentally less predictable because you kind of just have the iterative loop, you don't really know what's going on, whereas waterfall methods are predictable. So why would the switch happen? The unpredictability actually does come with a high degree of flexibility. So if the waterfall method is predictable, it's because it doesn't allow any scope change. The cost of changing a waterfall methodology, like let's say you designed everything, you got everything ready, and then halfway through implementation you're like, oh, we need to redesign something. It's actually a massive step back and you have to redesign the whole project. A lot of things need changing at once, and it's hard to do. Engineering isn't really growing at the speed of tech though, so like if you're building a bridge, you can't afford to be more calculated. It's kind of what you see is what you get, and people need to work their way around it. Often with software though, you're building something for a consumer, and the tricky thing about that is it's like they don't need to use it. There's entire fields of UX now, like it's hard enough to sell and retain customers as it is, and if you want to just base your work on assumptions and then spend all this money on it and put it out, it's kind of difficult because of how much competition there is. You need to iterate with your customers, understand what it is that they're using, and adjust based on that. So being able to respond on the fly is one of the primary uses of the Agile methodology. I kind of skimmed a bit of a paper on this, which was by Fowler, who's like a tech guru, like one of the big guys in like object-oriented programming. He basically was a proponent for agile methodologies, and he was basically saying it's because the development process has so much design in it. Like as you remove the design from the development, people just start kind of implementing what's there. So just engineering, you don't necessarily need to be a skilled laborer. You kind of just need to know how to implement the designs that you see outside the construction. He was basically saying the quality of the code is based on the developer's individual ability, and he felt that coding was actually a practice that had a lot designing it, which it kind of is. It's not a clear-cut thing, and by separating design and development completely, you kind of remove a lot of on-the-ground creativity and development, which is kind of the benefit of Agile. You get to design what you develop. Okay, so all that aside, what does Scrum look like for devs now if you currently work in an industry? In short, it's iterative loops. So the stakeholders basically assess what it is that they need. That goes to the BAs, which is business analysts, and they work with the devs to scope out the tickets and get the amount of points. This is then used by the BAs to be put into the sprints, and the Scrum Master holds and hosts all the ceremonies to go through everything and make sure that the work's done properly. Every morning you have a stand-up, which is traditionally like 5-10 minutes. You tell everyone what you're doing, and this is great for the BA so they can understand where everyone's at. And maybe you've completed a ticket and picked up a new ticket, and the BA is like, oh, can we prioritize this first? Or maybe you've taken up a ticket and another member of the team is like, oh, I've actually half done this by mistake, or my ticket goes into that, and you can kind of interact, and it's helpful for just aligning everyone. And at the end of the sprint, you have a retrospective where you can go over what was good and what was bad. It's like, oh, I was blocked on this work because realistically this came before it, which means the subsequent tickets that we're going to have, I think we'll run into a similar problem. We should maybe structure these differently. It's that iterative growth learning process where you keep designing as you develop. Okay, so in conclusion, I hope I've shed some light on what the sprint Scrum methodology stuff is. You probably hear about it a lot. This is kind of an overview. Hopefully it was helpful to someone out there. If someone is interested in becoming a Scrum Master or getting into tech and want to learn these things, please send them this video so they can make a more informed decision. Thanks, guys.